Um, I want to roll into, we're talking about habits, modeling them. And as a parent, we know that we can ask our children something a million times and they could still not do it. So, where do consequences come into to play? And I think you and I are in agreement. It's not like a go Alexander does the treadmill for 20 minutes. I don't say go do the treadmill for 20 minutes or you're not going to get dessert tonight. Like I don't use consequences as a motivator. Um but if he's fighting me on it, and then I may say, well, okay, I'll give him a choice. If you're not going to do 20 minutes on the treadmill, I really want you to, but I'm not going to strap you to it. But you're going to make a decision to forfeit having any kind of sugar tonight. And then you get to make the decision. And then if he makes the decision to forego the treadmill, then as a parent, I feel like it's my responsibility that when he is now begging me for a half a cookie, can I have a cookie? No. Can I have a half a cookie? No. You made a decision. There's a consequence to it. I am going to enforce it. And it doesn't have to be a big deal or a big upset. But the moment I don't enforce it, my word and my handshakes with him start to lose their validity.
Oh yeah. It's like telling someone they're grounded and then they're going out the next day. They're not going to believe you.
Yep.
And yeah, there needs to be it's like, and I think there's enforcing consequences, and then there's just letting the consequence happen. And I think a lot of parents prevent the consequence. Like, let your kid touch something hot.
Mhm.
They won't do it again.
Mm.
Yeah, it's going to burn. I mean, obviously, if it's going to be a huge, let them stick their hand in a, whatever, like stick their hand on a cast iron or something. But like,
Right.
let them touch the handle. Let them feel that pain.
Mhm.
And that's something I'm really big on. Like, if you go out, if you touch something hot, or if you leave something out somewhere and it gets taken, that's the
Mhm.
consequence, dude. Like, you didn't pick something else. It comes back to accountability.
Yeah.
You didn't do something. There's a consequence for you not doing it. Or you did something. There's a consequence for you not
Yep.
doing it, or for you doing it. You've got to deal with it now.
It's
It's not
cause and
my job to
effect.
stop that happening.
Right. It's it is your job as a parent to do what you can to protect your child, but that does not mean keeping them in a bubble. That does not mean stealing their struggle. A consequence is really just a cause and effect.
Yeah.
There was a cause of something, it affected something. Like it's very basic. But if a child is insisting on doing something, yes, I can understand. Like, as, like, a mom, I'm like, "Oh my god," even hearing you say, like, "Well, let him touch the handle," I'm like, "Ah!" But not just making it better for them. They do something wrong. It's like if, I don't think I really wanna go here with this conversation, but if, like it's like if my son called me and he's like, "I just killed someone. Can you" like, I have to really think, "What would I do?" I'm not gonna answer this, on the podcast. Would I do everything in the world to try to protect him, or would I, meaning like hide it, or would I, um, help him face the consequences? Would I be the person to call the police? I don't know. There's kind of these extreme examples of where do you let your children struggle and build their self-confidence, because that's coming through struggles is that growth part, and it's how they build resilience. And we need to build resilient children. We don't need to build tough robots, but we need to build resilient children. I think that is one of our responsibilities as a parent.
Yeah.
Happy, productive, kind, resilient human beings.
You bring that up about someone being murdered. I saw this. I don't know how it came. Actually, I was uploading one of our episodes, and
Hmm.
because it's just a different YouTube account, my algorithm's not set on there, right? So I just see random videos, and sometimes there's some interesting things I'll see. So I'm like, oh, let's watch that. It was a clip from a new show in Australia where this kid, 2021, um, was drunk driving, killed three kids on their bikes.
Mm,
The parents, very religious, they forgave him.
mm,
Not only did they forgive him, the father has become like a godfather to the guy. visits him in prison all the time. The guy is kind of turned his life around in jail. He's very,
Mhm,
very religious man of Christ now.
mhm.
And it was amazing to watch that. Like, wow, the strength to forgive someone like that. And there are consequences. The guy's in jail. He's going to be in jail for a long time. I think he got
Yeah,
20 something years. Um, but I just thought that was just something I wanted to bring up on here. So I'm glad you kind of
yeah.
went down that road for a second.
Forgiveness, teaching our children how to forgive, and that
Yeah,
is something I think that maybe can only be modeled.
yeah,
They now teach them how to forgive, but also teach them how to respect and honor themselves.
yeah,
It doesn't mean letting someone walk all over you. It doesn't mean not having boundaries. But it means that old adage of, you know, y- you drinking poison and expecting it to kill your enemy, right?
yeah,
That's that resentment, that's that anger and that unforgiveness. Um, I want to be delicate in this conversation. I'm witnessing kind of from the outside an adult who had challenges like we all do growing up, and unfortunately has, I don't know if you become an alcoholic or you always are. I do believe it's a disease and a sickness. Um but now on third DUI, right? And the sad thing is that DUI number 1 is still sitting in the court system, DUI number 2 is still sitting in the court system, been delayed by their attorney, and I'm just thinking like none of this has done this person any favors. The delay of the consequence has actually created a way worse consequence to face. So it's like in the moment we think we're saving our kids from a a a a hard time, a challenging consequence, something that sucks to go through, but meanwhile, if we keep helping them avoid that, I'm a big believer that it comes back around in life, and consequences in younger ages tend to be much more livable and navigatable than they are when you become an adult. And that has everything
yeah,
to do with the legal system and the responsibilities that you have and the impact of your decisions. So we have to allow our children to quote unquote suffer the consequences when they are doing things that require consequences.
yeah,
And the consequence should absolutely fit the action, and there are so many cases where the consequences are so severe and not appropriate. I have a big problem with giving detention in school for certain things. Um, so again, that's a whole other conversation, but making sure that we are not giving empty threats, and if you're going to put a consequence out there, you better make sure you're willing to enforce it, or then don't say it. And if your
yeah, and
child does something, just come alongside them and help them through that, but don't take it away from them.
yeah, and one of the other things kind of going through my mind right now is this idea of not feeling the consequences. And when we relate it back to what we were talking about with modeling healthy habits, is a lot of people don't feel the consequences until it's too late.
Mm,
I talk about this a lot, right? You don't
yeah.
feel the symptoms of something until things are way
Mm,
past where they should be.
yeah.
And I've talked about my own experience with that. Was I didn't really feel like I was having any symptoms or anything, but turns out I had a whole lot of shit going on with my gut and stuff like that. Thankfully, I caught it then, and I'm addressing it now. But you can think, oh, it's okay. They can have the Doritos. They'll be fine. But you're setting them up to have health issues in 30, 40 years time.
Yeah.
And well, our behavior, it's all right. I get away with drinking every day or binge drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you're going to be sick. And what's the consequence of that for your kids?
Yeah.
Not only are you modeling habits for them, but also you're putting a burden on them now.
Yeah.
And people just they punt the ramifications into the future. They kick the can down the road and they don't hold themselves accountable now.
Right. Until they're
And we,
forced
we
to.
need to
If they're,
rethink that. We need
yeah.
to start thinking about the consequences of things and how do we change our habits
Yes.
before the consequences occur.
Uh, Exactly. 100%. And that's such a key takeaway right there. think about, if I do this, what could happen? And educate yourself and give yourself the thinking ability, your children the thinking ability. Go, okay, if I do this, this is what could happen. Is it worth it? Is this worth this consequence? Now, that's the challenge, right? Especially when it comes to health and internal is, well, yeah, I'm fine. I feel fine. We see people that look healthy dropped out of a heart attack every single day,
Yeah.
right? But shocked, he ran 5 miles a day. It's it's part of also, information overload, wrong information, changing information. One thing's one way one day, one way the next day. And people struggle, and that's where we default back to the AI. That's where we default back to the just, well, what can I do? I just gotta, trust what the government, trust what's being put in front of me, because
Yeah.
who knows what's right.
Yeah, and there's this attitude I really hate of, and I said this on my rant too, actually. Just that there's this mindset of, well, my kid's fine or I'm fine. Like
Mm,
I didn't feel the consequences of that decision, so therefore it's fine.
yeah.
And I said on there, my son having autism, there's, it's definitely an environmental thing. It's a decision I made and his mother
Hmm.
to expose them to certain things, whatever they are.
Hmm.
And I don't believe there's a single cause. I think there's multiple things, but I have to live with that consequence.
Yeah.
So it really offends me when people have that mindset of like, well, my kid's fine. They had all those vaccines, or my kid's fine, and he had that formula.
Mm,
All right, well, like good for you.
right.
I'm happy for you. I wouldn't
Yeah.
wish this on anybody, but I'm seeing the consequence of it. So don't just think that because you haven't experienced the consequence, the behavior or the choices you make are the right ones.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when we didn't even plan to go into this kind of tangent, but there is this idea of like people modeling their behavior on a lack of consequence.
Hmm.
And I guess that really is kind of the same point, right? To your
Yeah.
DUI thing, if there was a consequence, numbers 2 and 3 may not have happened. I
Absolutely.
mean,
And
fuck,
what
number 4 might be running into someone and killing them
it might be like,
or themselves.
a million percent. It's, we starting off a lot of conversations with, you can't make this shit up. And I'm like, how many times do we have to be willing to start a conversation off that way? And it's really a struggle and stress, because this person is still driving and we have knowledge of it. And this person could kill someone I love, kill someone I don't
Yeah,
know, right? And like there's this sense of responsibility, like I'm not responsible for what this person does, yet I am, because I have knowledge and I'm not doing everything that I can to try to prevent it. And that's like a control, that's a million other things. And one of the scariest things is often with alcoholism or any type of addiction, there's manipulation, there's a lot of
hmm,
selfishness, there's a lot of lies. And I'm going to take it just to the children part. There's one child of this person who was basically priding himself on his ability to lie to this person's husband, and then started seeing, well, this my mom gets away with all of this stuff, she's selfish.
yeah,
And he's like, being nice doesn't pay, because look at my dad, he gets walked all over. And meanwhile, my mom is basically getting away, but he doesn't. So I'm actually excited, it's not the right word, but I want him to finally see that there is a very real consequence that's going to happen, because in his mind it's like, you could lie, you can make up excuses, like it's a deny, then it's a excuse, and then it's a pointing to someone else that's doing something the same or worse. Like that's the cycle I see with the addict, and it's the cycle I see happening with the child that's watching the addict, because there hasn't been consequences. So the fact that there's going to be consequences, or hopefully, is a good thing, because this child needs to see that. And
yeah.
actually being kind and being good is the way to go. But unfortunately, that's not what's been modeled.
Yeah, and I think as a parent, there's a difference between letting your kids struggle
Mhm.
and letting them suffer. And I think we
Mhm.
should always do our best not to let them suffer, but a bit of struggle is actually not a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, pull
Absolutely.
them out of a financial hole, for example, but then
Mhm.
don't go and buy them a house or
Right.
buy them a car.
Right.
Yeah, there's a difference. You've got to kind of let them make it on their own way, for
Well,
sure.
that's the suffering, it does need acute help. Right. And when we're talking about children, as a parent, you have the most impact to be able to do that. So to get them out of the suffering into the struggle, that's where you can actually help them
Mhm.
and help them grow. And that's where they can learn. It's very hard to learn in the suffering. When you're in suffering, your body and your brain are just in survival mode. You could get the most brilliant advice. Like it's lost on you if you're suffering. So people
Yeah.
do need acute help and then get to the struggle part, right? It's just that one little step outside of suffering where your brain can start to believe that there is something better, that there is something else, that you are not what you were and while you were suffering, and your body actually getting into some nervous system regulation and all of that. But you've got to move from the suffering to the struggle before there can be any kind of learning. And as a parent, you have the greatest responsibility and impact on your being able to move your child from suffering to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of my superpowers, particularly as a parent, is identifying what the consequences of something's going to be and
Mm,
preventing it from happening.
mhm,
And it's kind of like my decision tree, right? Almost what I was saying earlier of like, all right, there's a consequence to this happening. Is
mhm,
my child going to learn a lesson from it?
mm,
Yes or no?
mhm,
Yes. All right, maybe I'll let it happen. No.
mhm.
All right, I'm going to intervene here and or not set up this situation for this to happen.
Yeah,
Um, I can't think of any examples right now, but it's just I'm always thinking about what is the consequence, and I think a lot of it's actually from my perspective in the fitness realm of this delayed gratification, right? Of like, put the work in now so you don't have the negative consequences later, or you have the positive ones later.
yeah,
And again, you see that all the time with people's health and the decisions they make of, all right, I'm getting away with it now. It's like people, oh, I used to be able to eat all I wanted to, and now look at me, I'm 40 and
right.
I'm fat. I'm like, well, yeah, I could have told you that was going to happen, dipshit. Like it catches up with you. You get
Yeah,
the consequences at some point.
yeah,
And people don't think about that. They want to just live in this like instant gratification of whatever decision they make
mhm,
versus thinking about, all right, well, if I'm healthy now, I'll be okay in the future.
yeah. Truly healthy, yeah. I'm looking at our time and my brain's going off on another thought process with children and I'll just say it. So with Alexander, he's got some I think more similar to me is like the joke is like I look at something that's unhealthy, right? And my body adds weight automatically. Like there's a very I have a very I put it in, there's a really direct show up. Whereas other people, things don't show up as quickly. So I see, some kids that just they're just eating candy after candy and tons of crap and they're thin. And Alexander really doesn't eat a ton of crap, but he does eat some crap. And I've gotten to the point now where and this is kind of Italian heritage and other heritages like we just there's just always food around, right? And like food equals love in our Italian culture. So like I would say to my mom like stop feeding him so much. And I have stopped and I will actually ask him like are you actually hungry right now? Cuz he'll be looking for something and he's like no, not really. I'm like then go drink a glass of water. Like if you're hungry then I'm going to feed you. Right? I'm not trying to starve you, but having just kind of awareness around, if you put this in your body, this is going to show up pretty quickly on you, Alexander. Different than your other friends that just process differently. And I've seen him become more conscious of it. I've seen him on our hikes now keep up with everybody else way better than he was before and he's growing into it. He's doing push-ups on on his own volition. We went to the gym the other day. I took a class, he went and did his workout schedule. Like and I don't force him to do it. He's doing it, but just helping our children stop for a second For me, the example was about the food, but just stop for a second and think. Do I really want to do this thing?
Yeah.
And if I do this thing, what will be the outcome? And then if we're talking to adults or even children that have an I am statement, does this move me towards my I am statement and support it, or does this move me away? Um, I started writing a quote on the whiteboard at Ben's house, and now I will go every week, and the kids already have something new written there. Like their brains are thinking, and they'll tell me, "Ooh, I heard this great quote today." 3 months ago, no one was talking about motivational quotes. Now they're driving it. They're picking out things that they're hearing during the day. They're writing it creatively on the board. Like that's the win, right? That's the habit. That's the mindset habit. That ties into that physical healthy habit of consciousness about our physical bodies as well.
Yeah. And, mark my words, 30 years' time, Alexandra's going to be in better health than those skinny kids now.
Yeah.
Mark my words, because it does catch up with you. And it's irresponsible of parents to just think, oh, and there's a whole other tangent of judging by body fat as
Mhm.
a way of saying whether someone's healthy or not.
Yeah.
Of course, yes, if you're obese, it's unhealthy, but it's not really an indicator of health.
Mhm.
Like you, just because you're not seeing an accumulation of body fat does not mean that you're healthy
Right.
at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see other things like daily headaches with kids, stuff. And I'm like, this is not normal, right? It's not normal taking gas X all the time. Again, to me,
Yeah,
not normal, but it's become normalized. And this is not a judgment. This is just like, there's so much. It's such a deep conversation. And listen, bottom line is it's freaking hard to be a parent. And
it is.
is that a question?
No, no, I'm saying it really is hard, and
Yeah.
I've had to do it. Emmy was back at work 20 something of August. So I had the kids. I was working
Mhm.
and had the kids home. And of course, they were on their iPads more than I would have liked, but
Mhm.
I had to cut myself some slack and say, well,
Yeah.
got dual responsibilities right now, and
Yeah.
if I don't do one, then I can't provide for the other, and so yes, and no one's perfect as a parent, but I implore people just to think about the habits that they're modeling.
Yeah.
Don't just say it, do it, show them.
Yep.
And, Mason has no kind of desire to drink sodas or
Yeah.
anything like that. He just drinks water. He, doesn't eat junk food.
Mhm.
Occasionally he'll want to fit in with people and do it, but for the
Yeah.
most part, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't drink tap water unless it's, really heavily filtered and the
Mhm.
fluoride's removed. And it's just because he asked me why. I told him why.
Yes.
And then he sees me doing it too, so he
Yes.
wants to be like me.
I love that. Share with your children. It's exactly what you just said. It's not what you say. It is what you do, but it's also what you share. We do a lot of things
Yeah,
that we don't share with our children why we do it. And our children are very, very smart. And they might not even fully get something, but it's so important. Hey, I'm doing this because of this is what I want to achieve. Or I'd like us to do this as a family because this is what I want as a goal for us. Like, this is
yeah,
why this is important. The why around things is so valuable for people because you need something when it's not easy, when it's not a habit, when it's challenged. You need something more than, well, my mom told me to, or my dad told me to. Like, there's got to be something anchored there.
yeah, for
So,
sure, and I think part of the sharing is sharing what the consequence of doing something would be,
mhm.
or if you didn't do it, what the consequence would be. So I think it all ties in, and that's very real for kids, right? It's like,
Yes.
if you don't, which is why, like, I don't care what grade you get, what's the consequence if you get a bad grade? Nothing. You can still go on and have a great business if you
Yep.
have shit grades. It doesn't There is actual no bad consequence to
Right.
it, but there's a bad consequence to you being a dick.
Or if you don't do your best, there's
Or
consequences
if you
to
don't
that.
try your best, yeah, because
Yeah.
you're setting yourself up for failure. Because as long as you're trying at everything, you'll do really well at the things you're good at.
I'm laughing because I'm having a vision of I had my best girlfriend Jamie, her girls, and she has two girls and one boy, and my son was there and her husband was there and we were at Crystal Springs and the kids kept running ahead, right? They're running ahead. We can't see where they are. Jamie's losing her mind, trying to keep everybody under control. And, there's a reason that we don't want our kids to get too far away from where we can see them, depending on the environment, because there's real danger. So this is not funny. I have a family story of my half sister who was abducted and with her partner, and her partner was raped and murdered, and my half sister was stabbed 33 times and left for dead.
Oh wow,
And
haven't shared that with me before.
yeah, it's actually was an episode on something called something evil, escaping evil. Well, it's
Jeez,
called
that
escaping the
sounds evil.
arroyo. It's a we'll talk about it on an episode, but it's like you're yelling at the kids, don't run ahead. We need to be able to keep an eye on you, right? They don't understand that this is what's playing in our minds. They don't know that, like, as women, we've experienced real fear of someone being physically overtaking us. So I said, can I tell them the story, right? And I'm just envisioning these little, 10, 11, 12-year-old faces looking at me as I'm telling them the story about what happened, and they're, like, mortified, and Jamie's husband is, like, kind of mortified that I'm telling them the story, and it's, like, trying to figure out what the appropriate level of knowledge depending on the age. But, like, we're not yelling at you guys. Like, your mom isn't losing her freaking mind just because you're not listening to her because you've run ahead. It's because we're fearful that someone's going to take you and do something horrible to you. Is that
Yeah,
we're fearful that you're going to experience something that we've experienced, you know, for her girls. Like, I don't know a woman that has not at some point been pushed or pressured into an uncomfortable physical position.
yeah,
So it's like, how much information do you give? And then I've even questioned, like, oh my God, we'll joke, like, the time I probably traumatized the girls because I told them this story, and they're like, well, what's raped? And then now we're trying to explain what being raped is without, again, being age appropriate. So it's like we're
I
finding
think
our way.
the biggest mistake we can do as parents is shield our kids from the realities of life and the
Mm,
consequences of things.
mm.
And that's a great example of that because they'll think twice about going so far ahead next time,
And
right?
they
And it's
did.
like there was one time I was watching Mason play soccer outside of our place, and
Mhm,
his ball went under a van,
mm,
and he went under the van to get the ball.
mhm,
And I see that there was a guy in the van,
mm.
so I yelled at him to come inside, and I wasn't yelling at him to give him a consequence.
Right.
I was explaining the consequence of, dude, if you go under a van
Yeah,
and the person doesn't know you're under there,
yeah,
you're gonna get killed.
yeah.
And what was it? Oh yeah, it was he was one of the chargers was broken, and he was trying to put like the prong part had come off the brick.
Mhm,
So he tried to pull the prongs out and touch the prong and
mm.
electrocute himself. And I said, I was explaining to him, you can't do that. Do you understand? You could die from that. And the reality, like, he got really upset about it, and not
Yeah,
not because we were, telling him off, but when he realized what the consequence was and
yeah,
what could have happened. And
yes,
again, he's not going to make that mistake again.
yeah, yeah. We have a responsibility to help our children understand and anticipate potential consequences, while also giving them the courage and the resilience to not become fearful of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, we got some big jobs.
You really do. But it's our most important job.
Yes.
And again, it ties back to what my rant's been this week. Let's stop or shirking the responsibilities that we have as parents.
Yeah.
Our work life is not more important than raising kids.
Yes.
And we try and justify it and say, well, I've got to provide for them.
Mhm.
On your deathbed,
Mm.
your kid is not going to remember how much money you made. They're
Yeah.
going to remember what you taught them,
Yep.
the lessons you taught them.
Yeah. And
And
were
that's
you
that.
there for them?
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. 100 million percent.
And those are the consequences of your actions. See how it all
Yes,
ties in?
there are good consequences. Uh, this was a great conversation. I think a really important conversation. And I'm going to bring it back to a place that we often go back to, and that's a like, don't do this alone. If
Mhm.
you're whether you're a single parent, whether you have, you know, two healthy co-parents at home, or one healthy and one not healthy, like whatever it is, like you need your people around you. You need support. You need other parents. You don't have to do things the way that they do them, but you need to be able to talk to each other. You need to be able to laugh about the
Yeah,
craziness of things, right? And I think the more that we're open about it, the more that we're open about our struggles, the real ones. The ones when my
yeah,
girlfriend calls me and is like, I should not have kids. Like I had to go lock myself in the room because I don't even know what I was about to do. Now of course I know she would never do anything terrible, but like you need your people. You need to support. We're again, we're not meant to do this life alone. And if you're lucky enough to be raising other beautiful little creature human beings, then you must have your tribe around you, have your people around you, be that person for someone else. And if you don't have them around you, find them, connect. And there's connection everywhere.
there is.
And don't
There
underestimate
is.
the value of your best friend yelling at your children for the same thing that you say over and over again. They hear it differently from other people. So I always ask, like, is it okay if I discipline your children? Yes, please do. They take it way
Yeah,
different
and
than
again,
their mom or
and
dad are taking it.
that's a good point. Just to kind of put a pin in my thoughts on not outsourcing your responsibilities as a parent. There is value to them hearing a different voice saying the same thing, but if that's the only voice they're hearing and they're not hearing yours, then there's a problem.
Yes.
Then there's a problem.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, my friend. I think this will be a part one, part two.
Yeah, I know exactly where I'm spinning it to.
I love it. I love it. Next episode, I'm really hoping that both of us have some announcements, and I need to know what's happening with you. So
Yeah, I'll pull you in after this real quick.
okay, let's do that.
Could be a short-lived bit of hope, but I'll tell you in a sec.
All right. Until next time.